Well, we're here in Wendell's house. He was very generous to let us come and see his things, and we're sitting in the dining room, and we're sitting at his dining room table. Could you tell us something about this?
Well, obviously it's made at a period when I was doing rather decorative things, and the name of this table is Never Explain, Never Complain, which that gets credited to a lot of different people, including Henry Ford, but my research suggests it's a Disraeli quote. And
British Prime Minister.
It's something I actually really believe. So it's connect the dots is how you read it. And I threw in enough extra dots to make it difficult. So it's not so easy to figure out. And the little triangles really don't have anything to do with the reading of the name of the table. They're just thrown in to break up what would otherwise be a rather bland table, because the dots, unless you're close to it, you really don't see them. Then this has a very elaborate base on it, which again, unless you're down on your hands and knees, you don't see the base that much. But it followed the pieces when I had the Deco influence, which were pretty elaborate. But I really, after a short time, wanted to get away from that Deco reference. But I still was hanging on to a lot of these ideas about design within the table, surface kinds of design and decorative kinds of elements happening. This piece was from the Art Deco period, when I was doing these elaborate things like inlays. But at a point, I got to a point where I really didn't want to do the influence of the Art Deco anymore, but I still liked certain aspects of it, some of the decorative part, and some of the things that show up kind of fancy craftsmanship stuff. So this is Never Complain, Never Explain table, which is connected dots, which is a fun thing I did when I was a kid. And I've done a few pieces where I worked the title in with dots. And then it's got these extra inlays of Berbinga, this is holly, that were put in really to kind of break up this big surface.
This is the only one?
This is the only one.
And did you make it just for yourself?
Well, I didn't know it was mine. Nobody bought it.
Oh.
And once I took it home and used it and banged it up, then of course it wasn't saleable anymore. So it became mine. The date of that piece is early 90s, when I was showing at the Peter Joseph Gallery in New York. And, you know, I don't know where the design came from, but I built them as individual drawers and then sort of stacked them in this stair-step shape and then pierced them with these, I don't know, rugabay or some kind of vegetable.
They look like tacks and nails.
Well, they do look like tacks and nails, and they have this kind of finish that makes them look a little bit like bronze. They're not. They're wood. But I did some pieces with crackle finish, and that's a crackle. And the cabinet is nicely made. If you pull a drawer open, they're dovetailed.
Oh, yes.
Very fine dovetails.
Beautifully done, yeah.
And I never make big drawers. I only make small drawers. And the reason is that if you make big drawers, they're gonna stick in the summer. But if you make small drawers, the chances are they'll be okay. There's a piece here I wanted to show you, because this is one of those pieces that we talked about. It's from 1990, one of the so-called angel chairs, which were really thought of as wingback chairs. But this is a wing seat chair.
Okay, all right. How many were there in that series?
It's about a dozen.
About a dozen?
About a dozen.
So they all had wings on the seat?
Of some sort. I mean, sometimes the wings were up here.
Uh-huh.
And at least one of them where the wings drooped all the way to the floor and made the front leg. And, it's a comfortable chair.
Yeah. Very nice.
Actually,
Yeah, yeah.
it sits well.
How did you texture the?
That's chainsaw.
Oh, that's chainsaw.
Little chainsaw.
Uh-huh. That's a very nice texture. Makes it nice.
I like that texture too.
Yeah.
And these are even earlier chairs.
Oh, these from the early '60s, right?
Well, let's see. I think there should be a date. 1979.
79. Well, I missed it by a decade.
They're not as old as I thought.
Yeah.
But I have a set of 6 of these.
Mm-hmm. What wood is this?
Mahogany.
Mahogany?
Yeah. This is all traditional joinery. This is mortise and tenon.
Mm-hmm.
And this bridal joint. And this is yeah, it's a chair. I like the chair.
Mm-hmm. And I bet they're comfortable too, aren't they?
We'll try one.
Yeah, all right. So let's see. Oh yeah, they really are.
I mean, they fit your back.
Just perfect. Yeah, very nice.
I mean, it's a small chair, so it's not a very deep seat, but it's a comfortable chair. So the thing that I do differently from most of the standard ergonomic books is I put a little more slant in the seat. I like the idea that you're kind of pushed to the back.
I think that makes it more comfortable. I noticed that, yeah.
Actually, this chair and this table are kind of a turning point in a sense. That when they had started having the Design Miami show at the same time as Art Basel, which really gave the show a lot of importance. And I had my first opportunity, I think it was the second year of the show. I didn't really know about it the first year. So I worked with a gallery that this would be a really good time to show something different to what would be expected to be a really A-list audience. I wanted something to be in there that would definitely not be classified as craft. So I figured that making something out of fiberglass and putting a finish on it than what you wouldn't expect, like gold leaf, would get some attention.
So these are fiberglass?
And not put me, at that point I really needed to stay away from a craft situation because I was trying to establish my reputation in a little different way. And these pieces really did accomplish that. When looking at these, you don't call me a woodworker.
No, and you say they're fiberglass anyway.
They're fiberglass,
yeah.
And although you don't know what they're made out of.
Yeah.
And so they really successfully made that point. For this last number of years have ended it with what I have referred to, well, it was once 10 rules of thumb, and then it was 12 rules of thumb, and then it was 16 rules of thumb, and they have changed a bit. But one which I think is the most important one never changed, and that was the last one. I always made it the last one, and that one is, if you hit the bullseye every time the target is too near. You know, there's lots of different ways of saying that. You know, one is if you're finding it easy, you're not working on a hard enough problem.
Yeah, not working hard enough.
Or if you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. And there's just many that say the same thing.
Yeah.
But I like the bullseye one.
Did you just collect those over time, your 10?
Well, that big thing hanging on the wall, I made into a poster.
Yes.
And actually, right now, I've been collecting these things. These are not necessarily from my invention. Some I know where to credit, but most I don't know where to credit. And if somebody else said it first, but I try to condense it and make it into a smaller statement if I can. And I'm very careful to say they're my adopted rules of thumb.
Yeah.
And they're fun. I have 65 collected at this point.
Wow.
They're in a small town newspaper. The obituary writer was out ill, and so they asked the sports writer to fill in. And here's the obituary he wrote. Here lies the bones of Nancy Jones, whose life held no terrors. She lived an old maid, she died an old maid. No hits, no runs, no errors.
Excellent.